I think selling, and empathy is one of the best things you can have. And empathy doesn't mean, oh, I feel sorry for you, or it's putting yourself, developing a perceptual position to put yourself in the other person's shoes.
Joe Paranteau, welcome to the ROI Online Podcast.
Amazing, right?
I grew up and gravitated to sales. I was the one that didn't mind, being out there. Here's the thing about a salesperson. They're the only ones that have this visibility of their quotas in an organization, at least in the small organizations, right? They're the ones that it's on the whiteboard, how much they sold, how much they didn't sell, when they suck. It's obvious when a salesperson, but meanwhile, in the background, HR, accounting, they don't have their numbers up for everyone else in the organization to see. But I spent a lot of time in there, and you talk about quotas, but I think quotas are what's wrong with sales. If I'm focused as a salesperson on meeting my quota, then I don't care whether this product or service is good for this person. I just want to make my quota. So I just want to get them to sign on the dotted line and get out of there and get on to the next victim to make my quota. And I think most sales managers, I think most business owners suck at managing sales, at directing sales. And yet one of your titles of one of your chapters in here, sales managers suck. Okay. So I love that you're saying that, but let's do something. I got 5 little questions here I want to ask you. I want to see what your answers are. But so for the folks that are listening, when we talk about a sales quota, just what is a sales quota?
I've always liked the definition. It's a numerical value that takes excellent salespeople and makes them less excellent.
I love
but
that.
It's one of the things especially for the entrepreneurs out here. Eric Ries wrote a great book that many people are familiar with for entrepreneurs called The Lean Startup. In it, he talks about vanity metrics. Big companies are great at vanity metrics, but even small companies can be great at vanity metrics. They might think, hey, this is what I need to base my sales quota and my sales performance objectives around, is this concept of a quota. And they lose sight of the customer. Your business should always have metrics that are customer based, that look at, are we growing customers? Are we growing number of customers, profitability of customers? Those are the things that are going to impact your business. When you start getting into to vanity metrics, you'll know them because they look good. People love to say, hey, I'm doing this great thing for the business. You always have to ask yourself, how is this helping our business be profitable, grow, and win customers? And if it's not meeting those objectives, then most likely your sales performance objectives are all sideways. And that's one of the things that you'll find many sales managers are, they become great at, is defending a business that they know little about because they're one detached or removed from it. And the salespeople who get to, be eyeball to eyeball and voice to voice with customers, they know a lot about it. So it's why I encourage everyone to go out and go on customer calls. It's a great equalizer to understand what's working. Do we need to pivot away from this, this direction and go in a new direction, or should we stay the course? And it also helps build some empathy for you as a business owner to your customers. What are they experiencing? How can you help them? What's the market changing? What new competitors are emerging? Things like that. But yeah, the chapter Sales Managers Suck was also built in there for salespeople, because sales books, I've read most of them, they read like a metronome. You can pick it up, and if you're a senior salesperson, you can thumb through the pages and go, I know this. I've read this before. I read this. What? Wait a second. What's this right in the middle of the book? I can relate to this. But no one ever talks about the obstacles that you'll encounter even within your own company in a sales career. Some companies you might have to sell internally harder than you do externally.
Mm-hmm.
and navigate, uncharted waters with changing, some people might have 3 sales managers in a given year. They might have to deal with different layers of sales management, in addition to customers.
Sales managers, they ruin everything. I think that, that quota to me dehumanizes the essence of sales is creating a long-term relationship with a customer and a business. But quotas make them nameless and faceless, and it's like they dehumanize the process. And I don't think sales managers understand that because they're not on the ropes. They're not getting the rejection. They're just wanting to crack the whip, so to speak.
Now, one thing I am thankful for in learning to perform, from a sales standpoint in a metrics driven way, I've learned to take those metrics like quota and apply them across my life to really say, hey, here are my goals and objectives. Here's my own quota. And it's funny, my quotas are usually larger because they're based upon the things that I really want to do, not what the company wants to do. So I always lay down my, what's my objective, what's my goal that I'm in my dreams that I'm striving toward, and how can I leverage the company to help me get there.
So I got a couple of more questions, but here I want to tease a question that we're going to do a YouTube exclusive question. And so this is what I'm excited about, but what was the main purpose for Native American storytelling? Now, in your book, what inspired me to want to do this as an exclusive on YouTube, you won't be listening to it on this podcast, but if you want to go to our YouTube channel, you can listen to it, is that storytelling has a place in your book. And I'm really fascinated with story-based sales. So just want to hang that out there. But so I'm a business owner. I have to figure out a way to manage my sales force. So one of the things there's this dark forest I got to go through of hiring a sales manager. How to hire a good sales manager? What's your answer?
Hire somebody who is curious, who believes their best days are in front of them, that they recognize they can be an excellent coach. How often do you see Phil Jackson going out there and doing, dunks or layups? No, he doesn't. That's the thing about a great sales manager is it's not necessarily based upon sales performance of that individual person. Many people enter the trap that, because, Susie or John was a great salesperson, they were the rock stars, that they're going to be, an excellent, sales coach and sales manager. Because now you have to translate those experiences into coaching others, helping them find their own way. That's usually not the case. The star performer usually ends up being the worst type of sales manager. People who are excellent are those who approach it with curiosity, compassion. They're great with people. They're understanding. They can really see the humanness of the person and develop the potential in those people. They're good at kind of squeezing when they need to, but understanding what that person's going through and using empathy and motivation. It's helping them reach their own internal path, and it's a hard business. It's truth be told, I'm a director of a selling team today, and it's I've had good years and bad years. The bad years were ones that I just I had to look in the mirror and say that wasn't my finest hour. Did I help those people become better? And you always have to continue growing and being, developing yourself as well. It's a fun role, but it's one that many people think the directive approach is the best approach. Being in the military, even people in the military don't lead by directiveness. one of the best leadership behaviors that I learned early on. Our officer and leadership team, senior leadership team, said, okay, everyone who's on our leadership team, mid-level managers, whole NCOs, officers, we would all serve people during the holidays. We'd take over the mess hall, we'd cook the dinner, everyone would line up, we would serve them and their families as they came through. And that is a longstanding impression. Many people probably don't realize that the military operates that way. However, when you put your life in each other's hands, you have to learn to be a good servant, and you have to meet those people where they're at. And that's just stuck with me forever as something that I want to represent, as a business leader.
Yeah, one of the most unenlightened organizations that was sales focused that I was a part of. And when I say sales focused, they learned like make a quota and cold calls. How many cold calls did you do? That was the essence of their sales focus. But
their inspiration.
They put someone in charge of us salespeople that was selling against us. It was like, here's the recipe for how to destroy a sales team. And it's like, let's put the salesperson that's getting commissions as well in charge of managing you and deciding what leads you get. I'm not bitter or anything. I'm over it. I've had therapy. And
I think there was a movie that they made like that. It was like Glengarry Glen Ross.
So, okay, here's the next question I hear all the time. How to be an effective sales manager. You talked about it being a service-based or leading and serving. What's another thing that you think how to be an effective sales manager is important?
I think selling, and empathy is one of the best things you can have. And empathy doesn't mean, oh, I feel sorry for you, or it's putting yourself, developing a perceptual position to put yourself in the other person's shoes, literally understanding what happens to this person when they leave. Where did they go? Did they go home? Do they have a family? What's life like that for them? What struggles do they have? What are their hopes and dreams? Once you understand who that person is and what they're motivated by, many people try and take broad brushstrokes and apply them across their entire business. It's good to have goals for your team, but you have to inspire them. You have to start with your, what's your mission? What's your vision? Is it contagious? How are you going to enroll them into that? And do it in such a way that it makes sense for them. I might have a mission that we're going to go, make, $300 million this year as a business. How do I make that real for that team of people? They don't care about that. How do I make them care? And you make them care by connecting it to their life. Who are they going to be serving? Why is it important? What do we offer that company as a value proposition that means something? If we're in business just to make a buck, you're going to make a buck, but you're probably not going to make $1.50 because customers are inspired by your vision as well. And your vision has got to be bigger than you. You have to have, something that matters, that changes their life, and you have to believe it. And if you're selling, in sales management and you don't, you're not on fire about what your team is selling, how are they going to be on fire about it if you're not on fire?
I love that quote. If you're in business to make a buck, you're not going to make $1.50.